Well, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Taboo Questions. It's me, Pastor Mike from Time of Grace, and I'm here with Amber, Albee, Swenson. Amber, before we hit record, I told you I've been recording all morning. I'm about to lose my voice, so I'm about to take like a 32-minute vow of silence, and you're just going to gush wisdom like a fire hose upon our blessed listeners. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, if people are just listening to this and not watching it, you are like in the let me take a nap zone, and I am like bouncing off the walls, dancing, like bring it on, let's go. Huh, come on. Totally different mornings. I was up like most of the night last night, couldn't sleep. I'd been sick for 2 days, and so went back to bed at like 7 a.m., got up at 10, feeling good. And you know how when you haven't felt well for a couple days, and like you wake up and you're like, oh, I feel good.
Yes,
oh my goodness, I feel good. So now I'm like, yoo-hoo.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's good. Thanks for picking up the slack for me today. Yeah, so we were brainstorming like what are some really good, kind of tough, deep, nuanced conversations for us to have. And today we want to talk with our friends about technology, Christianity and technology, it's such a pendulum swing for me and the people I love. I feel like it's headlines lamenting like the phones are the end of everything and they're the problem of the kids these days, and no one can go to a meal out with their family with a pulley. It's like the devil in a little rectangle for some people. And listen, we're part of a media ministry that literally connects people to Jesus millions of times because of screens and TVs and phones and tablets. So I want to have kind of a personal but nuanced conversation about the good and the bad and the boundaries, the ugly, the temptation, the opportunities. So I wanted to spring this question on you to get it started. If Amber had to give herself a letter grade of how like proud you are of the last month of your use of screens, A+, couldn't be better. Failure, F, I just wish I could redo the whole month. What letter grade is Amber self-grading?
I give myself a B-. I mean, so this is redemption. I can't wait to do this podcast. Do you remember when we did the screens and souls behind the scenes, behind the series?
Yep.
And you were like, so what is your,
wait.
weekly?
I don't like how you do
11
impressions
hours
of
a
me.
day. You're like, I try to keep it under 3 hours a day. I'm like 11, but I sleep with my phone on and it's doing like waves in the background for 6 hours. So yeah, no, I quit that job. And so I'm no longer sleeping with my cell phone making noise to make me sleep. But I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, well, I'm going to give myself a grade in a second. Let me ask that. Like, what about your grade makes it as high as a B-?
Yeah.
And what do you think is getting in the way of a solid A?
Honestly, I'm probably being hard on myself. I'm pretty disciplined with my phone, and the majority of my phone usage, vast majority, is praise worship and looking up like passages where they're at, definitions, that type of thing. I keep it on my desk while I'm working so I can quick like, oh, what does this mean? Or where's this found? And da 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 da. And so, but I'm pretty much like everybody else. I love to send my friends, like the reels. Like there's rarely a day that my family and my friends, we're not just like, so I'm spending like, I just had lunch and like spent 15 minutes and I was like, yeah, like sending I love to send that stuff. So, I mean, is there time that I'm wasting that I could do other things? I absolutely could. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you're being too hard? Is that wasting time when you're bringing joy to friends, connecting digitally, sending a dumb meme or a reel? The way you phrase that, I'm wasting time. Should you just be washing the feet of widows and orphans, or what makes you feel that way?
This is the problem. You have to go through like 100 reels to get the good one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I've gotten so much better at like, and we both like John Christ and the whole algorithm. So like, dude, if you're getting all the nasty ones, what are you looking at? What are you pausing for? So like, I want to try to get past the ones that I don't care about really quickly so I can get to the good ones that are either funny or uplifting, motivational or something. So I'm getting better at that, but there's still a certain amount of stuff you have to get through to get to the ones you want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think I'm in a similar boat to you. I don't feel terrible about my phone use when it's not like podcasts while I'm showering or driving, like just sitting down, scrolling news, weather, checking things. I'm probably an hour and a half a day, which I think statistically is modest in our generation.
Yeah.
But then I think, man, if I use that hour and a half a day to
I
like
know.
love my wife and do the things she wants me to do, or like have one quality cup of coffee with a friend. So that really makes me think of it. It's the nuance of it's
Mhm.
not right or wrong. I'm not looking up how to sin in a Google
Right.
search,
Yeah.
but it's the question of like stewardship of time and how much is good relaxation? Is
Mhm.
it really, do I feel more relaxed and recharged after I do this? I kind of wrestle with those nuanced questions of what's
Yeah.
rejuvenating me time and what's like kind of a trap where 59 minutes out of 60, I'm just
Mhm.
wasting scrolling, doing nothing that really benefits me, but it's just what we do these days.
I think there's I think there's a couple things that you can, and I know you do this, but I would say to that, I would ask myself, have I spent time in the word today? So if I'm spending time scrolling and I haven't made the word of God a priority, then I would say, you know what, I don't probably have my priorities straight.
Mm,
And also, have I spent time praying today for the people I love, for the ministry, for God's kingdom, for the persecuted Christians?
mm,
Everyone in my house right now is currently gone. They're all working, they're all, elsewhere. I can't have a conversation with anybody else today, right now, when I'm eating lunch. So have I spent time in the word? Have I spent time praying? Have I spent time worshiping? If so, then 15 minutes on my lunch hour, yeah,
mm.
I'm not gonna beat myself over the head about that. However, if I haven't been in the Word, if I haven't prayed for anybody yet, if I have, then I need to kind of check myself and say, well, where is that in your schedule?
Yeah. Yeah. If it pushed Jesus to the back of the line and the things that matter most to your soul, that makes a lot of sense to me. Do you
Yeah.
think it's a generational thing? Do you and I think about this in a way because we grew up with friendships and conversation and connection that wasn't
Mhm,
based on phones, which is not the new normal these days. So
mhm.
do you think do people our age tend to be more judgmental of the average 17-year-old? Ah, you kids and your phone, put your phone away. Look, your friends and are we like the grumpy people on the rocking chair saying are we just doing what previous generations did to us when video games came out or the Game Boy or a DVD player or
I
I,
think that I
say
think
no,
the
say that we're not those people.
I
Let's
think that the young people are actually have a pretty good grasp on this from what I've seen. We were having a family dinner 2 weeks ago. One of the things I love to do when our family gets together, so 2 of my kids are married, so, we Sunday at noon, we just say, "Whoever can come, come." And so we all get together, we eat a meal, I cook, nobody's died yet, bonus
Yes,
score,
yes.
woohoo! I try to make a serious effort, which I don't necessarily the rest of the week, so everybody's in. But then I try to pick, like, 1 chapter of the Bible, and we read that chapter of the Bible. We go around, we all talk about it. And this particular day, my son Simon had walked in the house and he's like, well, he had called Steve before and he's like, Dad, our water heater is leaking at our house. And Steve is a total fix it guy. He can fix pretty much anything. So Steve was like, okay, what kind of water heater do you have? And like, he's in this. So we get to this, the Bible reading, and I did Romans, oh goodness, was it 12 or 13? Which is the one with, spiritual gifts? 13?
12.
12,
Yep.
12, 12. Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. And I said, I just wanna go around and I want us each to say, so we're gonna go around with each person and we're gonna say what we notice about that person so we can kind of pick out their spiritual gifts, and kind of build each other up. Pastor Mike, I had no idea what was gonna happen. We went around the table for, almost 2 hours. Like, we were crying, like, people were so it went it I was envisioning, "Oh, you're really good at helping you encourage you like, keep moving around." No, my family went, like, every single person, like, When I think of you, I think of the times that, you've really led this family in a way and you've encouraged us and you do something that no, you're generous beyond. And I mean,
Mm.
like I said, tears, like, and at one point, Steve, this is getting a little long for Steve because he's thinking water heater, right? So he legit he picks up his phone and he's like looking at the water heaters. And Simon, my son, comes over, takes the phone away from him, puts it down. Like, Dad, this is super important. Like, you have to.
Mm,
So I'm gonna say, I don't no, my children are early 20s. So maybe there is the teenagers who get together with their friends and they can't get off their phone.
mm,
And maybe but I have a lot of respect for the next generation, thinking they know when there are important things happening.
mm,
And they understand when this is more important than just scrolling.
mm.
And so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say our generation just has to reach out and create meaningful conversations with that generation.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
and then I don't think you have to worry about them being on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I see that in my own children of like an awareness of this,
Mhm.
smartphones became the thing and we all kind of got sucked into the dopamine high. But
Yeah.
now there's enough studies, there's enough warnings, there's enough books that I see that in my daughters who are very cognizant of their
Yeah.
screen time. They're
Mhm.
My daughters are so aware of so many things that I wasn't when I was
Yes.
16 of like, not just their skincare routine and hydration. And my wife teaches them about like macros and nutrition. Like, what was I doing when I was a junior in high school? I was trying to get a girl to notice me and playing too many video games after school. This was my so
I
yeah.
agree.
I think they are on it with technology, and yet there's some studies that say the average young person will spend what is it 7 to 9 or 9 to 11 hours a day.
Mhm.
We're not talking about work. We're not talking about school screens. We're talking about personal screens. So
Yeah.
I feel that tension where I see some good examples, and then other times I read the data and I'm like, and I've had young people I mentor who show me their screens, like,
Yeah.
no way.
Mhm.
So how do we, for a person recognizes like, I want to cut back. I think I'm
Yeah.
kind of wasting time. I'm not really connecting. It's just my habit. But the dopamine rush is so powerful. The habits are so hard to break. What kind of concrete advice would you have as a Christian to help someone kind of break that cycle and find better balance?
So with teens, I think it's different with teens than it necessarily is with the older generation, because I think there's also an older generation of retirees who have a whole lot of time on their phones as
Yeah, for
well.
sure.
So
For
first,
sure.
I want to talk about the teens though. When my son was 14, he was big into video games,
Mm,
like all the time. So when he wasn't in school, he was on the video games. And I finally one day said to him, Simon, get dressed. You have a job interview today. He was like, I haven't applied to a job. And I said, oh, yes, you did. And you will take it. Congratulations. So I drove him to the interview. He got the job. He got his uniform. He started working. I told him the expectation is you have to work 20 hours a week because I see you are spending way too much time on video games. Like that'll still give you video game time, still give you time to that's where he met his future wife. So
mm,
all is not lost. But he developed a healthy, you know, habit of, man, there's more to do than just sit on the game. So I think with teens, it comes back to us as parents. Are we
mm,
okay with letting our kids just hang out on the couch or in their bedroom scrolling on their phone? And if that's not something you want for them, again, what kind of meaningful activities are
mm.
you willing to get them involved in?
Yep.
Get them, when Simon was 14, I had to drive him to work. I was putting work on me. I had to drive him to work. I had to pick him up at work. He started
Mm,
closing. It was 11:30 at night. That was on
mm.
me. But I knew it was important for him to do something other in it, whether it's getting them involved with the sports. Or I tell my kids all the time, this house is your house. Bring your friends over here. I want your friends here. What do I need to do? I can
Mm.
make food. I can, you tell me what you want.
Yep.
So if you don't want your kids on their electronics, what are you doing as the adult in the
Mhm.
situation
Yep.
to say, hey, I don't want to see this? Because I
Yep.
think our kids are open to it, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I love that because it's not. Well, just sit there and do something else besides the most addictive device that's ever been invented. I found that
Mhm,
that if I just like sit there and just not try to touch the phone, but I don't have anything else to do, that is such a difficult battle to win.
mhm.
But if I'm somewhere else doing something of value, then it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and I don't think about it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
you're right. If you get out the door to the gym, if you join a pickleball league or get involved in an
Mhm,
activity, if you're at a work shift, if you're at church, like to me, that's box one. Like start with a good thing. And
yes.
normally the bad things kind of get pushed out due to a lack of time.
Mhm,
And then the second thing that I've been doing that it's huge for me because I feel the same pull to just mindlessly check my phone is ask myself, do I need my phone for this thing? My wife and I go grocery shopping, or I'm off to church, or I'm going to my parents for dinner. I'll put my driver's license in my pocket so I can legally drive. If I need like a debit card in case we're going to stop somewhere, I'll put that there. But I have to ask, like, do I really need? Is this just like, well, I might need it as a backup plan, or I might want to check prices and coupon? Like
yeah.
80% of the time, I really this is how I lived most of my life for the first 30 years, and I didn't die.
You are
So
aging yourself.
like, yeah, forcing myself to like, I'm going on a date with Kim. I don't need my phone.
Mhm,
I don't. She has an Apple Watch. If there's some emergency, our kids can call the cops or grandma and grandpa or get hold of Kim. Like I don't need to have this temptation in my pocket
yep.
or on the table when we're trying to have a date. So I just push you. Can you find 3 or 5 or gold stars for 7 things you do during the week that
Mhm,
you bring your phone that you don't need it?
mhm.
And that's an easy way to reduce screen time. When you don't have a screen to spend time on,
Yes.
I have a hunch you're halfway there.
And I also think too that I mean, something that you just kinda hit on is your, your relationships, your relationship with your parents, with your wife. Man, that is what is gonna fill you up. Go
Mm,
hang out with people real time, face to face. I love sending the reels to my friends, because they live all over the country. I don't get to see them all the time. But
mhm,
I am crazy. Anybody who's ever listened to my podcast, I am crazy about friend time. Like, that is
mm,
non-negotiable. I go for walks once or twice a week with friends. I make sure to have time with them. I get coffee dates with people. I
mm,
spend an extra day when I go to Appleton. I drive to Milwaukee so I can be in the same vicinity with
mm.
friends because those friendships are too important to me
Yeah.
to not invest in them just like you have to invest in a marriage.
Mm,
And I think if you do, like, the phone is great in between. That's great. I'm
yeah,
happy to get a text from them or, whatever, a little reel. But
yeah,
that does not at all that's not the exception for when we can actually get together.
yeah, yeah, you're 1,000% right. I was listening to a podcast, just a week ago, and I gotta show you this. Let me open my drawer. Let me grab my phone during this podcast. The tip was if you struggle on your phone, turn it into grayscale,
I've
which
seen that.
is you take all of the color out. So when I look at like the pictures on my phone, it's so
Mhm.
boring. It drives me crazy. But guess what? It has not reduced my screen time.
It hasn't?
It hasn't. It just makes me mad that it's in gray. But I was actually checking, like, hey, did this make a difference in the last week or week and a half? And nope. I just my habits were the same apps, checking the email, checking the weather. It's just black, white, and gray instead of bursting with color. So I've really learned for me, like some of these little tips and tricks, like they just the pull is too powerful.
Mhm.
I think the just the dopamine release, the novelty of it is it just gets its claws in you. And so I just need to put some serious distance between me and the phone, which I think is, put in the effort, make a big step. This is a really big deal and there's some really big
Yeah.
chemical reactions. So I just encourage people like you're not the only one who feels powerless sometimes in front of these devices. And don't be ashamed if you need to take a substantial step. All right, Amber, let's talk about husbands and wives and technology. Um, it's really common. I've heard a lot of couples say this that, you come home from a long day of work, he comes home from a long day of work, you get food, you clean up the dishes. If you have kids, maybe you get them in bed. And then, like, the new let's connect time is I'll sit on the couch, you sit on the other end of the couch, you have your phone, I have my phone. Maybe we'll also leave the TV on. And it's like 3 screens. two human beings and one really mediocre marriage.
Yeah.
Help us. Help us break out of that, it's so tempting. It's so easy to fall into that and get into that rut. So, what do you think causes it, and how do we get out of it?
I think it's convenient. It's just an easy I think a lot of people fall into bad habits, but you are intentional about getting out of them. That's my thought on that is that and I don't know if I'm a terrible wife or a wonderful wife, but I will give Steve, like, for real, like, maybe 30 seconds or less. If I walk into a room and he why are you laughing? This is not
I
I
like
am a
hearing your
terrible wife. I am
I'm
a
just
terrible
picturing
wife.
you, like, catching him on his phone and just, like, holding up your wrist as you count the seconds, like, "Steve, you
Nope, I
better."
will give him, like, 30 seconds. I will let him finish whatever he's doing, but then if he's not ready to put down his phone and pay attention to me, I will
Mm.
walk out of the room, go do my thing, come back, and then he'll be like, "Wait, where are you going? What did you want? What?" But I will not I decided a long time ago, I will not compete with a phone. But the same thing, like, in bed, same thing. Like, if I'm in bed and Steve's in bed and he's on his phone, I'm like, "You had your chance." Like,
Mm.
I'm not competing with the phone. It's
Yep.
me or the phone. So, um, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I'm a terrible or a wonderful wife, but I just set that for myself. Um, I'm not gonna compete with the phone.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think phones I think a general principle that can be really helpful is lean into your phone when you're alone. And if you're gonna pull it out in a group of people, whether it's friends or your spouse is there, I think that should be a ask permission kind of step to take.
Mm.
And if they're cool with it, hey, go ahead. Whatever. I have some stuff to catch up on too. That's great. But yeah, the word competition that you used is huge. Where, I mean, the devices are too powerful. They offer too much novelty. So don't make someone you love compete with that, whether it's your kid, your husband, or your wife. So I think that should just be the principle. This doesn't come out in your presence without your permission. And that might seem like extreme or draconian to some of you, but if you're stuck in that rut, you might need that big step to like break out of the habit where it's just, yeah, it's convenient, it's easy, and you need some good boundaries to have a better kind of marriage.
I worked with the elderly for years, since like 2014 until 23. And I can guarantee you that at the end of people's lives, they don't regret the time they spent with their family.
Mm,
That never, ever, ever in all my time working
mm,
with all the people I worked with, I never, ever, ever, ever heard one person say, "Man, I really wish I wouldn't have spent so much time with my kids."
mm,
Or I wish that I hadn't, spent so much time with my wife. Over and over and over, I heard,
mm,
my wife was the best. I miss her so much. I would give
mm,
anything to go back. Or,
mm,
if I could go back and do those years over, man, I wouldn't have cared so
mm.
much about working hard. I would have put so much more time into the kids.
Yeah.
And this is just the next tool of the devil, right?
Mm,
It's just the next flashy thing that makes you think that there's something on the other side of that screen that is so much more important than your wife, your kids, or yeah, I shouldn't say that, your spouse, because there are just as many women who are sitting on the couch scrolling. It's not a man
mm,
thing.
mhm.
It's an all of us thing.
Yeah. You mean no one was dying and with their last breath said, "I wish I would have rewatched The Office."
No,
Never?
no, never,
No, that's
never. I
fine.
don't think most of the people in the nursing home had ever watched The Office. So
Sorry. My
that's just you, Pastor Mike, just you.
my bad, my bad.
So let me ask you, because you're a guy, and I think the appeal is different. I think men and women struggle with different things. I think teen girls struggle with the influencers who, have the sculpted body, the perfect skin, the hair,
Mm,
all the stuff. And that's really the problem for teen girls that just can really get into your mind like, man, I don't measure up. I'm not her. And
mm,
so for teen girls, I think social media can be so, oh man, so hard. And we
mm,
parents, I have 3 daughters.
mm,
So I think for parents, there's a really important mentoring component to walking alongside your daughters, probably especially
mm,
when they have a phone and they see how great everybody else is, and
mm,
they can't see their own worth and their value. And I think for that, we all, but especially dads, you have daughters. I know when my husband builds my girls up, it means so much. When he's like, "Don't look at that crap. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know who they're
Mm,
talking to. Like
mm,
that's nothing. Like your value, man, let's go skiing again and let's hang out. I love hanging out with you." Like don't
mm.
That's not a problem for guys, teen guys, is it? I mean, I'm asking seriously because I have all teen girls around me and young adult girls. Is that a guy thing, or because I think guys struggle with the pornography side of it more than
Yep. Yeah, I don't think that's a non-issue for a lot of guys. I was a scrawny teenage boy, so to see these dudes who are ripped was, an insecurity factor for me. And now as I get older, like, oh man, I don't. Yeah, I wasn't Mr. Universe before, and now I'm hitting my 40s. So I think there are a lot of guys when it comes to their look, their midlife crisis, their how do I compare to other dudes? That's a real thing. But if there's two things I think that rise above that, it's sex and success.
Mm,
So this isn't just true of guys. I think some women are like this, but a lot of guys are more visual when
yeah.
it comes to sexual things. And because you just get flooded with it on social, it is it's such a, I actually downloaded Snapchat a month ago to communicate with my daughters because they never text me back.
You
I
know what's
download
funny about that? I actually knew that because you came up as a suggestion.
yes, that was right. Just randomly in church, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna humble myself and meet my girls where they're at. I've been making fun of Snapchat of people taking pictures of their ceiling for like years now. It's time to humble. And so I do it, and boom, my daughter's in 5 seconds, like, hey dad, what are you doing on Snapchat?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so cool. And then I had just downloaded the app. I pushed the magnifying glass on the bottom of the main tabs, which is like the search. And the autofill, Amber, of the search was so bad.
Really?
There were so many provocative, and I'm not talking like I scrolled for 5 minutes and I found something. I'm talking every sixth picture of the autofill feature where,
Mhm.
and I promise you, I was not clicking, I was not slowing down, I did not feed the algorithm anything. Like
Yeah.
it was just what it was. And I thought to myself, my goodness, this is what every like 10-year-old in America has in their hands.
Right.
And you don't have to type anything anymore. This is what the auto serve feature is. So I think it grieved my heart and it broke my heart for both young women and men and all women and men of like, I just want to communicate with my kids. I just want to
Mhm.
bond with my friends. But when you're in in this digital world, it's so hard not to be of this digital world. So yeah, I think the
Right.
sex thing, and then real quickly, I think the success thing. So I can't say that I look on YouTube and think, "Oh, I wish I had that guy's skincare routine." But I mean, I do see what I do. Like, man, look at how many Amazon reviews that person's book has.
Yeah.
And I instantly do a comparison. Whoa, look at the church that he's preaching in.
Yeah.
Man, I'm never going to be able to connect with people like that. So I think there's different kinds of comparisons. For us, I don't think it's as much about looks. It's more
Mhm.
about, visual sex and success. Are we meaningful? Have we done something? Have we worked hard enough and achieved enough? So, yeah, man, it's just so complicated. Like, I just want to look at soccer highlights and connect with my children, but it's just this muck of temptation you got to wade through and resist and try to avoid.
And I mean, for me, it's super easy with the Snapchat. I'm in one group chat, it's our family chat, and I, have had a couple people add me, and my kids laugh all the time. They're like, "You do nothing." Like, I don't even know how to put a story on Snapchat. Like, I legit answer my family's Snapchat. But I remember when my oldest daughter was probably 17. I think she had just gotten her first iPhone, and she was on Snapchat, and I took her phone away as a punishment for something, and she had an absolute mental breakdown because her streaks on Snapchat
Mm,
were
mm,
like she's like, "You can't take it away. I have to be able to do my streaks." And I'm
have
like
to, have to.
like, "Are you kidding?" Like, what even is this?
Yes.
So I think there is, if you're not super, super careful,
Mm,
Um,
mm,
there's such a temptation. What are you even doing? Because you think you're connecting with people that you are not seeing any other way but sending a stupid little picture,
mm.
and
Yeah.
it can be really devastating for that age because
Yeah.
they don't get that that's not connection.
Yeah. 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 I'm praying for a lot of wisdom with that. I think you're right. Like what, like your question, what even is this? Like, help me understand, define, is this what you think friendship looks like?
Right.
Because there's another path to get there. It actually takes a lot less time and it's a lot more fulfilling. So I feel like I'm in that stage of life where I'm trying to balance, like, I don't want to be grouchy because it's different. I don't want to say the way we used to play Tecmo
Yeah.
Super Bowl in my mom's brown shag carpet basement in 1987 and we liked it. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I recognize that the way that friendship is expressed changes,
Mhm.
but I also share some of those concerns with you where I see the screen time, I see the plot, and there's just so many yellow, if not red flags that make me think, huh, I wonder how I can guide and mentor and show a better path. Um, because you're right. I mean, what matters at the end more than the relationships we have? And if these digital means are like the way to have fulfilling relationships, praise God. But
Yeah.
if they're like subtly if they're the thing that prevents us from having actual, real
Mhm.
face to face moments like you had around the dinner table the other day, like that's worth some serious effort to try to change kind of what we're doing with our lives.
Have you ever done a fast from your phone? Have you ever turned it off and said, "Not doing it this week," or done certain things like social media fast or those things?
Yeah, actually, every night after I go to bed, I fast until I wake up, and then I break.
Way
No,
to go, Pastor Mike. You are my
yeah,
hero.
I
I'm
fast
so
every.
excited.
I
Way
thank
to
you,
go.
God, that I'm not like those other people. I fast once a day.
Yes.
That's like the new Pharisee. I I keep my screen time under 2 hours, unlike these other sinners, God. No, sorry, that's a disrespectful answer to your question. I've never taken a social media fast. Have you?
Okay. So, yeah, I'm a big we've talked about these things before. The weaker Christians, I'm a sinner. The weaker Christians must fast from things, Pastor Mike. I had 11 hours the last time we talked. Okay. So yes, I do fast from things. And I'm not saying I'm a better person than anybody else. I'm saying I probably need to rewire my brain. The
Mm,
hardest thing I fast from, just a week ago is Ash Wednesday. I took a 42-hour fast from worship music. Sucked. But I
wow.
think it's important. I do. I just was like, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna look it up. Like, this is time with God, and I wanna make sure that everybody knows I talk about it all the time. I have my favorite people that I listen to all the time, but I wanna make sure that I'm not making them into gods. I wanna make sure that God is in his proper place and
Mm,
they're in their proper place and that I'm focusing, and so I do make myself do that, and I'm not saying that I enjoy it, but I do think it's good for me to reset.
yeah. Yeah, to prove to yourself, just like your daughter with her phone. I need that for my streaks. I have
Mhm.
to. Like, no, you don't need it. It's nice, but you don't need it. You want to, but you don't have to. And just reminding yourself that the only thing your heart really needs is Jesus is
Mhm.
probably a really good exercise. And maybe technology is the number one thing on our list these days.
And what's interesting is for my daughter's birthday, she had her birthday in February, and my husband bought her a bag of licorice. And I found that bag of licorice on our counter last week. I finally put it in the cupboard. So it had gone like 3 weeks, and I don't know, there was a couple pieces gone. And it occurred to me that when you have really good food around that people eat and they get full on, having that junk food around, it's not like a temptation. Like, it can sit there and
Mm,
nobody's even eating it because we have
mm,
fruit and we have like chicken and we have salads and we have steak and we have like, who cares about the licorice? And so it's this, where I'm going with this. Like,
you are missing me in this analogy. I would have had that gone in 3 minutes, and then I
I
would have eaten
will
the
bring
steak
it.
and the chicken.
I will bring it to Appleton. I will
Let's take
send
it.
it with my son-in-law because this is the deal. If we're filling up with the good stuff on our phone, so
Mm,
worship music, if we're filling up with the podcasts, the more we're filling up with the stuff that points us to Jesus and
mm,
fills us up and fills our hearts up, the less we're going to care about
mm.
the junk. it's just not gonna do anything for us anymore. We're gonna
Yeah.
just be like, I don't even care. I can't click on that. I don't care about it. It just
Mm.
it doesn't offer me anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. When you've experienced something better, when I
Yeah.
grew up, to spend $3 on going out to eat was like the goal. And I just got so used to eating kind of that level of fast food, the lowest level. And I
Yeah.
think as I've gotten older, and maybe it's because I have a grown up salary, that I really stop at those places anymore. And now
Mhm.
when I go back, it's like, it's not
Same.
just the day after where I'm like, that was a bad choice. It's sometimes in the moments where I'm like, this doesn't do it for me anymore. And I think it's that same principle when you have experienced great face-to-face relationships, just
Yes.
sending a random picture just doesn't feel like you recognize it. This is inferior. And it's not
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm going to strive for something better.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, there's one last thing I want to run past you before we say amen. I've noticed, and this could be my brain. I don't know if this is how I'm wired, that even though I don't think I misuse my phone a lot, I listen to podcasts a lot, like when I'm brushing my teeth, showering, driving, running. I put them on double speed. So I'm soaking in news, sermons, news. But I've kind of noticed that when I stop and try to pray, I think it's harder for my brain just to sit in the silence and stay focused. And I've really wondered for a long time, is my like, I can't listen to this on one speed. This is slow. This is boring. Has that like sped up my brain speed that it feels like when you're driving through a school zone and you're trying to go 15, like this is impossible. Who could drive this? The preschooler could outrun me right now. It feels so wrong because you're used to going so fast.
Mhm.
Has that happened to you or anyone you know where you're so used to the fast-paced digital world that just stillness, silence, kind of lingering prayer just makes you like almost like a drug addict where you're twitchy about it?
Yeah, I've one of the big changes I've made in my life is actually making prayer a much bigger part of it in the last couple of years. My mom was a huge prayer warrior and she's not anymore. And I always wondered what would happen when my grandpa was a big prayer warrior. He died. My mom was a big prayer warrior. She has Alzheimer's now, so her brain doesn't always do the things it's supposed to do. I'm sure she still prays, but
Mm,
I always wondered who would fill in that spot when she's not around. And I think just the desperation of seeing things around, I just have gone into it. But I deliberately make time in my day for prayer. I have
mm,
2 times every day that I make for prayer, and one I'm sitting for 20 minutes.
mm,
I don't always make it 20 minutes. Sometimes I make it 18.
mm,
And then I take a walk. And when I walk by myself, I have to keep pulling myself back because my mind will wander, but it's meant to be my prayer time. So it's
mm,
meant to be time with me and God. And all I could say about that is that when you're having a conversation with someone, if they're distracted and they're not really into the conversation or if they're just
mm,
rushing through it.
mhm,
When you think about God in your conversation with him, and if you're like, okay, so on two speed, we gotta get this going here. So I need this, and this, and make sure like God's the most important part of your day. And so I would just say, even if we do live in a super fast paced world, and we do,
mm,
I would just say that even if you have a lag for a couple minutes where you don't know what to say or whatever, to just keep spending that time and keep making a point to quiet yourself down and
mm,
to make yourself have those conversations with God because they're too important. And guess what? There's going to come a day, if you live long enough, there's going to come a day when you're older and your phone won't do the same thing.
mm,
But if you have invested in that prayer time with God, you'll still have that.
mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, Amber, we've given a lot of practical tips. I love your idea of a prayer walk. I throw it up throughout. Is there a couple times during your week where you really don't even need to bring your phone with you? We're prioritizing face to face time with family and friends, using screens for really great reason, podcasts, worship music. What kind of scriptures can we leave people with before we say goodbye? Like when you think, obviously, smartphones aren't in the Bible. So, what kind of biblical passages, principles kind of
Mm.
get you back to home base when it comes to this topic?
Whew. Well, I think always I have been making a concerted effort to check out the idols in my life that,
Mm,
and I go back to Martin Luther's explanation, you should fear, love, and trust in God above all things.
mm,
When you, that's for the first commandment. And it's so easy to trust in Google.
mm,
Like,
mm,
oh man, what should I do about this? Or what
mm,
should I do about this? And we
mm,
trust in Google and we don't trust in God. So I would say just checking the idolatry factor. Who
mm.
are you going to first? Who are you going to most often? And Google is great. I use Google all the time. I said that. I use it all the time. And
Sure.
so Google is great, but it's not the end all be all.
Mm,
And AI isn't either.
yeah. So good passage.
Um,
Maybe Proverbs 3, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding.
you cannot serve both God and money, and that it would be anything. You cannot serve
Mm,
both God and technology. I mean,
mm,
you always said, I mean, I've heard you say it before, looking at your checkbook and your calendar shows you where God is.
mm. Yeah.
Look at your screen time.
Mm,
How much time are you spending on your screen? How much time are you spending with Jesus? And
mm,
and it doesn't have to be, 3 hours in the Bible and 3 hours on the screen, but I don't
mm.
know. That's not a Bible passage. Sorry. You're the one who's good with pulling Bible passages out.
Yeah, I think Second John, where he says, "I have so much more to write to you, but I don't want to use paper and ink. I want to see you face to face, so that our joy may be complete." And that really strikes me. Like John realized there's a technological way I could communicate with you, but it's not going to maximize my joy. And so I'll do the work of like getting to see you face to face. I love what you mentioned before. I'm gonna put an extra hour of driving just to be there with the friends and the people I care about the most. Um, it strikes me too that when John wrote that in Second John, he was probably in his 80s or 90s, and that to like travel as an elderly person was probably exhausting for him. But he believed like face to face is so much better than some digital way or some technological way that it was worth the effort. So that's a good reminder to me of like don't minimize just the inherent beauty that God put into these face to face conversations. Then the last thing I'd put on there, maybe we've talked a lot about kind of tips and do this, don't do that, but just Jesus's insane patience for people who struggle with things, um, whether it's sex or money or food or technology. So maybe you have like 1,000 regrets and you feel stuck and you have so much to change. But I love, is it Romans 5, where our sins are great, like his grace is so much more. So knowing that there's nothing that you've messed up on your phone, whether it was comparison or materialism or lust, like Jesus knows, Jesus loves you. He's going to help you. He's going to give you his spirit. So yeah, and on these conversations as Christians, I want to make sure we always get back to the gospel because I'm
Yeah.
always tempted to think, what do I got to change? What do I got to do?
Yeah.
And just resting in the goodness of God for me in this moment is such a beautiful thing.
And also Lamentations 3. God's mercy is new every morning. So
Mm,
the good news is if you screwed up yesterday, who cares? You get to start over again today.
yeah.
And God is there to meet you each time you do.
Yeah, amen to that. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'd love to hear kind of your tips and tricks. If you want to reach out to us and let us know what you do to stay connected to technology, we'd love to hear it. As always, I want to direct you to our big resource that we have. It's called Taboo. You can find the link to that book in the show notes where we tackle all kinds of tough topics, hopefully with grace and truth like we've tried to do today. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll catch you next time.